This is Tim Siglin, contributing editor with Streaming Media Magazine and founding executive director of the not-for-profit Help Me Stream, here at Streaming Media West 2019 with Christopher Levy. And Christopher, I think this is the second interview we've done together. We did one at East.
We did. And oddly enough, Eric and I have been going back and forth on this, but I believe this is the 21st Streaming Media West.
It very well could be.
And it would be, 20th Streaming Media West, but the 21st anniversary of Streaming Media West.
Interesting, because it would have been 98 in San Jose at the McHenry Convention Center, right?
I think that was 99. I thought 98 was in the Hyatt in San Francisco, but
okay.
I believe it was in the Hyatt in San Francisco.
Okay. Well,
but it was literally just 4 vendors on each side of a line, encoding.com, RBN.
Well, you know what? That actually reminds me of like the 2002 one in the Javits.
Yeah.
After it went big and then went down and then started to rise again.
Yeah.
Scott Grizzle.
Elvis Costello played that show. Remember that?
Scott Grizzle and I were talking about the Bill Gates one at the McHenry. And that was back when I think it was the Hyatt St. Clair across the street there. Yeah. And back before they put the parking deck in, so there was the place where they would freeze it over so you could go ice skating in the winter. Yeah. So how times have changed from that.
Quite a bit, yeah.
So you hosted a networking lunch. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, it was fabulous.
DRM is your thing. That is what you do. First of all, tell the audience what DRM is.
Well, digital rights management is just very simply a technology to prevent unauthorized access to streaming videos in a nutshell. And DRM is just a shell around a video, and to access the video, you need a key to open it.
And that's the consumer side of it. Is there a life cycle or a supply chain flow where DRM needs to be used in other areas?
Yeah, so we've been kind of big on this topic lately about Lifecycle DRM and understanding the lifecycle, and we've started to learn more and more that the gaps between the creation and the consumption of media are pretty significant. Okay. And as you well know, there's a lot of disparate technologies, both broadcast, internet, hybrids, wireless, in between those two. And so the idea is that by using DRM more pervasively, let's say the content leaves the studio and goes to the post house. Right. There's a gap. Post house to the encoding company, there's a gap. Encoding company to the OVP, there's a gap. OVP to the CDN, there's a gap. CDN to the user, there's a gap. And all of those places are an opportunity to kind of use a more holistic approach and just apply DRM as much as possible along that life cycle of your video.
Sort of like the chain of evidence with content.
Like a chain of custody or a
chain of custody.
Yeah, it's very similar. And now the opportunity didn't exist several years ago, but now because DRM is becoming more pervasive and more tool sets support it, the dream or the vision of doing this is becoming real. It will take a little time, but it's becoming very real.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you mentioned before we went on the air Rakuten. Is that?
Yeah. So Rakuten Viki. So Rakuten Viki is it started as a Korean video VOD site, and just to cut to the chase, the interesting thing about it is that all of their movies, the users can subtitle them in their different languages and dialects. So they have, for each movie, they have about 85 different languages or dialects, and in some cases over 100 dialects. So it's a very awesome model where users actually make the content consumable for them by using their own knowledge of the language to create the subtitles.
Is this similar to the model that like Japanese mangas are translated into multiple?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have a very sophisticated subtitling system.
Okay.
And users who are members of the site, they get their own little account, and they can go in and create their own version of the movie. And then later, when users come back, they select their default language or dialect, and it's made available for them.
And how does DRM fit into all those multiple subtitling models?
Well, Viki operates in like 13 different countries in Asia, and there's a lot of disparate types of networks and phones and systems there as well, mostly Android based.
Right.
So as a result, there's a little more opportunity for piracy. And so Viki, they also take content in from a lot of the majors.
Okay.
So they have an obligation to treat it like a BBC iPlayer would or a Netflix would.
Okay. Yeah. From a geographic standpoint.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then one other thing, Hunter had sent me a message and said to ask you about this.
Oh boy.
As the sole studio mandated technology in the OTT marketplace, how is DRM enabling consumers to purchase and view content on platforms like iTunes, Roku?
Yeah, I mean, it's a loaded question, obviously, but the answer...
Well, of course, your brother said it.
Yeah, and you know, the answer is pretty simple. The thing that DRM's doing for consumers is it's enabling them, when you go to Netflix and you go to the downloads button, to download movies and take them on your iPad and go on an airplane and not be subject to a small screen or bad Wi-Fi. Same thing on a cruise ship or in your hotel room. DRM is allowing people to basically take possession of content like they always wanted to, but also still have the rights enforced and in a manner that's transparent to the user, that doesn't obstruct their experience, you know, doesn't create a bad experience. And so I think you're seeing, you know, iTunes and Netflix and Hulu and a lot of the big operators, they want to move in that direction too because of their CDN costs. You know, they would like to move all that offline because storage and memory are getting cheaper and cheaper, and let the consumer bear the burden of storing it.
Got it.
So that's, I think, the trend in the business right now around that.
Interesting. So. Christopher, as always, great to have you on here.
Thank you, Tim.
We'll be right back.
Bye.